Hey, what's up, Justine? How you doing?
Hey, it's good to be here, Robert. Doing well on this Thursday talking about taxes.
I know. I mean, can you believe it's already that time of the year when it's time to start doing your taxes, getting all that information? Have you gotten any tax forms in the mail yet? I got my first one yesterday.
I did. I got some 1099s from some contracting work that I did last year. And so it triggered my mind to say, oh, yeah, we need to start gathering these forms and figure out where we're going to file our taxes this year.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many options. So we've been doing this now. I've been doing it like 10 years, and you've been helping me for probably the last 5 or 6 years doing all of these tax software reviews. And I think most people should know by now. I mean, there is the full range of options. You have like the really high end, expensive, but they're easy to use. And then you get to
Yes.
some other ones that are like the most atrocious things you've ever seen that like literally did not leave the 90s. And, you're hoping that they work well and they still function. But there are a lot of options out there. And so I think this is what's so fun is we have our best tax software roundup. You guys can find it on the blog if you haven't seen this yet. We talk about it every year. But one of the things that we have to focus on is that there's no one size fits all. I think a lot of people just want that recommendation, right? They just want, like, hey, what do I use? And it really depends on what tax situations you have. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, investing, student loans, being a landlord, trading crypto, which has been the popular one over the last few years, like all of those seriously impact what options are available to you. And honestly, do you even want to use tax software potentially? So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? Like, what are you feeling this year? Like, any big changes that stand out to you?
As I go through all of the different tax software reviews, one of the things that I really look at, and I didn't realize was a big deal, but it is the user experience. How easy is it for me as a tax filer to go through the software and understand exactly what it's asking of me? I have a lot of different tax forms, not only a W 2, but I also have 1099s and I have a health savings account. I want to know exactly where to put those forms and how quickly it is to upload those forms, or do I have to manually enter? And some of the tax software that we've reviewed at the College Investor, uh, has manual forms. And so if time is of the essence, then you really want to look for a tax software where you can upload those things automatically. And some premier tax software does a really great job of helping you just streamline things and make the time of it all go by really quickly. And I think what's also cool about us doing this for such a long time is we're a third party, right? We don't work for these tax software companies. So we are giving you unbiased reviews and showing you exactly what it looks like on the inside, which is going to save you a ton of time.
Absolutely. And I like that you talk about ease of use. So one of the things we've done the last couple of years is we've surveyed people and said, hey, what are like the most important things when it comes to tax software? And I know a lot of people get hung up on price. And price is important, right? But ease of use actually comes in as the most important thing for people, with 34% of people saying that ease of use matters. And I get it because, filling out these forms, I don't know. I think people have this conception that the IRS is scary and doing your taxes is scary. And I always see that meme every year that says like, how much do you, like, the IRS is like, how it's time to do your taxes, how much do you owe? And they're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, if you get it wrong, you go to federal prison, right? And so like these people get scared that like if they mess it up, and that's where ease of use is really important, because you've got to enter all the information accurately to get the right answer. And it's funny too, because I see on Reddit and other forums a lot that people are like, I tried Free Tax USA and I tried TurboTax and I got different answers, and realize that your tax return is just basic math. But why you got a different answer is typically because of that ease of use issue, in terms of you didn't find what you needed to answer correctly, whether that you didn't check a box right or you didn't enter your information in the right spot. And as a result, you got different answers when it comes to your taxes. So with that being said, why don't we jump into it and talk
Yes.
about what is our best overall tax software for 2023?
Ooh, yes. Let's tell the people what it is.
I mean, it's TurboTax. It always is TurboTax. And as much as it pains me sometimes because they do get a lot of bad press and they do cost a lot of money, it is very, very easy to use. Don't you think, Justine?
It's very easy to use. When I was going in there and testing things, what I love about TurboTax is it has integrations with outside investing companies where you can actually link that up to different brokerages, have them automatically import that data. It saves you a ton of time, and the accuracy is there because it's automatically linked up. You will be paying the most amount of money for your tax software if you choose TurboTax, but knowing it has these different features and amenities, it could be well worth it.
And that's what's so hard, especially if you're like an investor or if you traded crypto this year, you could have had thousands of transactions potentially. And being able to import that and save that time, like, I mean, spending like an hour or 8 hours entering transactions does not sound like a good use of time. Like, yes, just pay the premium price to get, everything you need done on your taxes and save yourself that effort, right?
Right. And I remember looking at their pricing tier. If you did any kind of gig work last year, if you're self-employed, you will be paying the highest amounts, 119 for federal filing and then additional $49 per state filing. The only time that it was truly free is very, very limited if you had a W-2 income, the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit. If you had anything outside of that, you would get bumped up. I think most people would probably fall within the deluxe tier, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's what I think catches a lot of people off guard is that they think they're starting for free or they're getting free file. And you had an HSA contribution and boom, you're in the deluxe tier. Or you had student loan interest or whatever it happened to be. You had child tax credit. You're all of a sudden getting bumped up and you're paying $50 or more. And I want to put an asterisk here is that we're recording this in January. If you wait until April, you're going to pay more too. These companies, all of them, we can't just say TurboTax, but all of them, H&R Block, TaxSlayer, all of them raise their prices as you get closer to the tax deadline. And
Yes.
so, and it might also be on the state return too. So you might only be at like $49 for a state, but it might go to 59 or even higher as you get closer to April 18th this year. So please keep that in mind that the earlier you start, you can lock in a lower price to file your taxes.
Speaking of lower prices, this is a good segue into our runner up, which was H&R Block, which slightly undercuts TurboTax on price, but you still get a really premium experience. In fact, I thought H&R Block was my favorite out of the tax software that we reviewed this past year. What did you think about it?
I love H&R Block and they offer a great online product. I think the only thing that holds them back from that top spot is really the number of integrations they have, right? Like they don't have all the connectivity. They don't really support all the crypto like TurboTax does. And so that holds them back a little bit. But if you're not trading crypto and you don't have a ton of investing transactions, H&R Block can be a great choice. And if you were a gig worker, some small amounts of gig work can get you into the lower price points. You don't have to upgrade to like the self-employed level if you just had a little bit of gig work. So that can be a money saving option for you where you still get a really great experience, but you're not paying the incredibly high price of self-employed tax software.
Exactly. And they give you the options to either kind of do this quick Q&A navigation, or you can go ahead and upload your own forms. So it's like choose your own tax adventure inside of the software, which I really appreciate. If you've done your taxes for a long time, you kind of know what to do, then you can just bypass that lengthy Q&A guidance and actually upload your own tax forms. I also appreciate that they are able to let you upload various forms like your W-2. There were 1099 forms that you could upload as well. Overall, I thought they did a really good job of, I also noticed they really amplified the buttons and the text inside of the dashboard. So it was not hard to miss any of the different things that they were asking of you inside of the software. Everything was very legible. If if you are thinking like, oh, this is hard on my eyes, I can't read all this small text, it was actually laid out very well. Great use of space, really great user experience.
That's great. And I would say for both of these companies too, one of the things that does set them apart as together, both TurboTax and H&R Block, is they're one of the few companies that also have robust customer support, and they both offer the CPA can do the work for you, or the tax
Yes.
professional can do the work for you. So you get started and you're like, I'm lost. Well, you can upgrade and pay on both of these software platforms to either get that professional support you need, and or you can just turn it over to a tax professional to just finish it. And yes, you will pay a lot for that, but these two platforms together offer that, and most of the other ones on this list don't. So
Yeah.
with that being said, let's segue to what a lot of people look for this year, and that is free tax software. Everyone wants free. What's free? What's
100%
free this
free.
year? What's free this year?
There is only one tax software company out there that is truly offering a free filing experience, both for federal and state, and that's with Cash App Taxes.
Yep. Cash App taxes, they used to be Credit Karma tax, 3 years ago? And so the last year they rebranded to Cash App taxes, and they were free last year, but they didn't have a great experience last year. I remember this, like you had to sign up for Cash App, get a QR code,
The
scan your
worst.
computer screen and do all this. So is it better this year?
It's better because they did away with the QR code. You still do need the mobile app to download and connect if you would like to do your taxes on your laptop or your desktop, which I'm sure you do. It's much easier to do it from a computer than it is your phone. You will need that phone for two-factor authentication in order to get into your account. That process took me probably about 5 minutes to do, but that time was well worth it because once you get in, everything is free. No matter what your tax filing situation is, you have W 2, 1099s, you have HSA, student loan interest deductions, anything and everything goes inside of Cash App Taxes. Also, their format inside, which is so different than any of the other tax software out there, is everything is vertical and almost in like a menu format. So it's like going to a restaurant and selecting a la carte exactly what forms you want to upload. But still, I thought a really great user experience. I didn't get lost around there. Did you?
No, I mean, they do have a great user experience, and I'm glad that they've continued to evolve on that. I think the only drawback for me on Cash App taxes is that it is limited in some ways. For example, you can't file multiple state tax returns. So if you have income in two states, it's not going to be a platform that supports it. They also don't support international income and stuff, which could impact some investors. For example, if you invested in international mutual funds or things like that, you could have some things that it just doesn't support, which is kind of a bummer because it is a really great tax software to use, and it's free. And they are also one of the only ones that have free federal and free state tax returns. Well, one state tax return, which is huge because, I know there's 16 of you guys out there that don't have state income taxes. Lucky you, but most of us
Lucky.
do have state income taxes, and we're paying for that. So keep that in mind. What about the runner up?
Okay, H&R Block actually has a pretty robust free filing situation. So I really appreciated that there were things like reporting unemployment income, student loan interest. You can upload your W-2, you can get the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, retirement contributions, like all these different things were it available inside of the H&R Block free edition. The only thing is though, you do have to pay for the state filing, correct? No.
No, you don't have to pay for the state filing, but it is limited still. Like things like HSAs, which have grown in popularity, things like that will kick you out of that free file. But I would say of the big guys, H&R Block Free is probably the most robust free file option, short of Cash App taxes. So offers a lot of great features, like you said. They don't kick you out for things like the child tax credit, earned income tax credit. which is phenomenal because those are the ones that usually are the gotchas, and they surprise people because all of a sudden you're like, I have 2 kids. And then they're like, you got to pay $50 to file your taxes. And you're like, what is this? This is ridiculous, right?
Yes. But I do think it does have a lot of good forms or tax filing situations in order to qualify for that free edition. But again, the only truly free tax software out there is from Cash App Taxes.
Right. And I will mention that, you can go to, the IRS free site, right? And you can file your taxes for free through those links. However, if you start on those links and you find you don't qualify, you can't go back to some of these software companies. So just be mindful, understand your tax situation before you file, and don't get caught in the gotchas. Because like I hate seeing it. I see it every year with these people that they leave comments that they're like, it said I was going to be free and now I paid $60, $80. Or even worse, people can't afford to pay that tax bill. And then they like do like refund advances and things that, they're trying to like not pay, but then they cost themselves even more money because of that. So be very mindful. And Cash App Taxes is a great experience this year. Like you said, it's a great way to go. They've really improved it, but it is limited. So
Limited.
yeah. So what's next? Best tax software for maximizing credits and deductions. So this used to be like the best tax software for itemizing your tax return. But with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act raising that standard deduction so high, a lot of people, I think the stats I saw were 90% of people don't even itemize anymore, which is
Wow.
is crazy, right? But you still might have a need to itemize. So student loan interest is usually one of them. However, no one really had student loan interest last year because they were all paused. Education expenses, charitable contributions above the limit, HSA contributions, things like that. They could all kick you into that deluxe tier that we were talking about earlier. So if that's you, what are your options this year?
For this year, the winner for maximizing credits and deductions is with TurboTax. So you're going to get the most amount of features for itemizing your deductions. Of course, you get what you pay for. It is the premium tax software out there. So if you itemize, you know how tedious that can be. You have so many different line items to go through, and TurboTax just makes it really fast to complete all of those items.
Absolutely, especially with the imports, it can make it so easy. Yeah, and then runner up.
Cash App Taxes is our runner up. If you want to go from paying a premium to not paying anything, Cash App Taxes is your go-to because again, no matter what your tax filing situation is, no matter what forms you have, no matter if you want to itemize, you can do that with Cash App Taxes and do it for free. But
Yep.
again, if you have multiple states or that foreign income, then you would be bumped out of Cash App Taxes, and then you would probably want to look at TurboTax for this type of tax filing situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cash App Taxes is probably where to start unless you have foreign income, investment income, multiple states. You'll probably be a lot happier with TurboTax, even though you are going to pay that deluxe or premium price point or higher, right? So
Yeah.
student loan borrowers. This is typically one that was a gotcha for a lot of years. And I will put the asterisk there that, all federal borrowers had their student loans paused last year. So they should not have paid any interest. However, private student loans didn't apply to this. FFEL loans didn't apply to this. So there still are people out there that were paying student loan interest last year. And you want to get your student loan interest deduction and you don't want to have to pay a fortune to get it. So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so the winner in this category is Tax Slayer. So Tax Slayer really is like that mid-tier level tax software where you're not paying an arm and a leg like H&R Block or TurboTax, but you're getting a little bit more features out of your tax software and you're getting it for a really good bargain. I really like Tax Slayer because it was easy to use. It didn't have a lot of bells and whistles to trip me up or a lot of tax jargon. I felt like they've done a really good job year over year just enhancing the dashboard inside the user experience. And I really thought if you have student loan interest deductions that you need to take, this past year, and maybe you have a couple other simple tax filing situations, TaxSlayer is a really great deal.
I love TaxSlayer. So looking at like the tax marketplace over the last few years, like TaxSlayer has just been like on this upward trajectory. They have been improving their product every year, and they are really gunning for the TurboTax and H&R Block when it comes to usability and all these integrations. Like every year, more integrations are coming. But what I love about them is that TaxSlayer's shtick, I guess you could say, is that you get access to everything at their classic price point, which is like $39. So, like, there's no gimmicks in terms of if you're an investor or a small business owner or anything or student loan borrower, you get everything at one flat price. Now, granted, it's not free. They do have a free tier, which is helpful, but you get everything else at that $39, which is awesome because that is cheaper than most of the deluxe software options for the other companies, right?
Yeah, actually, as I'm recalling how I was going through TaxSlayer, it really had a similar feel to H&R Block, but it's literally at half the cost of H&R Block. And
Yep.
to know that the first paid tier includes all tax forms is a really great deal, and you're also getting a really great experience inside of TaxSlayer. I
Love
liked
it.
this one for a bargain tax software. I thought it was really great, easy to use.
That's great. All right. So this one, we have two runners up. What are our runners up here for student loan borrowers?
Aha. So I did mention it's comparable to H&R Block, who is our runner up in this category. So you can actually report your student loan interest and educational credits on its free tier. If you have anything like an HSA, you have dependent care expenses, you need to report some of that stuff. You'll need to obviously upgrade into the paid edition, but honestly, if you only had like student loan interest deductions, W2s, this would be a really great option for you as well with H&R Block.
Love it.
And then our second runner up was Cash App taxes. You're going to see Cash App taxes hit our charts a lot for our awards because who can beat free? Nobody can beat free. Cash App taxes is your winner here. And so, because they make everything really easy to upload and follow and actually just understand where to put your forms, that's why this makes it a really good option if you have student loan interest.
And that's great because it's free is great, but it's also very easy to use and free. Like it's not like you're like having to like struggle because you could also fill out your taxes pen and paper for free, but like we don't recommend that. Like go do something else. So
Yeah.
awesome. I love it. So crypto was the hot thing 2 years ago. It was still hot for half the year last year. And then the whole crypto world collapsed. But guess what? People still have to file their crypto taxes. What do we got here for cryptocurrency traders?
Okay, so if you were a crypto trader, you need to report that the winner in this category is TurboTax Premier. The main reason why this made our winner of this category is because it connects with Coinbase. If you have Coinbase, you can automatically connect that together and get those tax reports and all that data put into TurboTax. So it really helps speed up time and effort in that regard so that you know exactly what numbers are being reported inside of the tax software.
I love it. And then TaxAct Premier is the runner-up, and they do the same thing. They don't have a lot of integrations, but they do allow the uploads of the 8949. So for those of you that traded cryptocurrency, you don't get a nice 1099B like you do if you traded stocks or mutual funds or ETFs. Guess what? You are 100% responsible for creating your own tax form. And you create this form by creating the form 8949. And this is like a giant spreadsheet of all your trades. And the more trades you have, the more you're going to have to put on that spreadsheet. So, like Justine just said, TurboTax will integrate with Coinbase, pull all your transactions, create that for you. But if you had a self custody wallet, you traded on other platforms, guess what? You have to put that form together. But the cool thing is both TurboTax and TaxAct allow you to upload the form that you put together into their system so that you can have all the data into the tax software. which is what we're going to get to our next category. And that's the tax liability calculators for crypto and NFT traders, which these calculators will help you create that form 8949. So, what do we got here?
It's so crazy that it's the investor's responsibility to come up with these forms. It feels a little backwards compared to everything else that is delivered to us. Anyway, the
Well,
winner.
I would say, guess what? In 2024, so next year, there will be a new form called, I think it's like the 1099, like DA or something. There'll be a new form for crypto transactions that
Perfect.
Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, they'll have to report it. However, if you self custody your wallet and you have your own little Ledger hardware wallet, you're going to still have to create your own forms. So, anyway,
Okay.
sorry. Let's jump into the
Good.
tax software calculators.
Okay. All right. The winner here is Coinly. This is an app for tracking cryptocurrency accounts and wallets all year long for free so that you can go ahead and convert that crypto data into tax forms and reports. So the free plan that lets you try everything out does not generate the tax reports. A full tax reporting costs anywhere between 49 to 179 per year. But I would say that's well worth the cost, right? If we're talking about reporting your crypto correctly on your tax forms.
Absolutely. That is well worth the cost, especially when you compare it to the other tax calculators out there. Some of those things, I mean, if you have 1,000 transactions or more, which, hey, it really does happen and it adds up. You could be paying $1,000 or more to get an 8949 generated. But Coinly is easy to use. You can go in there, you can categorize your transactions, you can hook up all your different wallets. It supports multiple blockchains. So besides Coinbase and Kraken and Binance and all the regular exchanges, it supports Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, various multiple blockchains. So you can get all those transactions, get them on your 8949, and then you can take that 8949 and upload it to your tax software of your choice or go from there.
Yeah, crypto traders definitely have to do a little bit more legwork in order to file this correctly with the tax software that we mentioned, but it's the legal and right thing to do, guys.
Yep. Just because you remember, and there's a lot of potential transactions there, and that's where it gets really complicated. Every time buy, sell, trade, convert currencies, you buy an NFT, sell an NFT, you change it into fiat, like all those are potentially taxable events. And, you got to report that. So Coinly is great. TaxBit is a runner-up too. They started offering a lot of free last year, especially if you worked on or used some of their partner exchanges. And they can even get a pro review with a CPA, which can be very helpful if you have a lot of transactions. I kind of go to TaxBit if you made over $100,000 or more, like doing crypto stuff. Like TaxBit might be the better option for you, just because you're going to already pay for this level. Like, get some professional help. Make sure you do it right so you're not messing any of that stuff up.
Absolutely. All right.
Uh,
And then
yeah,
our runner up here, we have two
Zen
runner ups.
Ledger.
Zen
Yeah.
Ledger. All right. So, what I liked about this one is that the free option actually supported up to 25 transactions, which I thought
Yep.
was really
So
great.
that's great for those that dabbled in crypto. Maybe you just bought and then you're like, I'm not feeling this, and sold, and then you're done. Well, you had your one or a couple of transactions in there. Like, it's a really great tool to keep it. If you didn't have a lot of transactions, just get your data and then you can get out and go and submit your taxes.
Yes. Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, next category is best tax software for stock market investors. So the winner here was H&R Block Premium.
Yep. Love it.
So this one, what I really liked about this is they connect to your brokerage company, and you can easily look that up within the tax software, log into your investing account, and then they're going to pull that information over inside of H&R Block. Whenever I can find a way to shave time off of my tax filing prep, this is a tax software that is going to help you achieve that. So H&R Block Premium, you are going to be paying for this level of service, but I think it could be well worth the cost if you want that import capability.
Absolutely. And not even just like the time savings, but the accuracy savings too. So if you have a lot of trades, like you don't want to be manually entering that. Every single one of them opens you up for a risk of just mistyping something, creating an error on your tax return. Like save yourself the trouble, the headache, like have it all import, and then you can just double check and you don't have to worry about making an error on your tax refund or your tax return.
Yes. And keep in mind, I'm just checking back on the H&R Block premium costs. The federal filing was $74.99 plus state was $44.99. So you're easily looking at over 120 bucks all in for the H&R Block Premier Edition. But again, well worth the cost, knowing that you're going to have fewer margins for error, and you're going to upload and save that time. So the runner up in this category was TurboTax Premier. Of course, the two premier tax software are winners in this category. TurboTax Premier also offers that same functionality as H&R Block, but the usability, higher price tag, we're better off with H&R Block in this scenario.
Absolutely. I mean, I would put them kind of neck and neck here. They do the same kind of thing, but you're going to pay about $20 to $30 more for TurboTax at this level. And you're not really getting much of a difference between the two products. Though I do believe H&R Block does have a higher import cap on transactions. So if you did go over 500 stock trades, I think TurboTax might be your better choice. But that's a lot.
It's so
That's a lot of
expensive.
transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you didn't have that many transactions, which honestly most of us should not have over 500 stock trades a year, unless you're Nancy Pelosi, right? We need to save your $30, $40, go with H&R Block. You'll get the same experience.
Yeah. All right, let's
Cool.
talk about best tax software for landlords, which historically have some of the most complicated returns. You got to keep track of so many different things: income, expenses, depreciation, all this stuff. So you definitely want a tax software that can keep up with all of that activity from the past year. So the winner in this category, actually surprisingly, was TaxSlayer Classic.
Yeah, again, because you get everything for $39. The biggest thing for me and being the landlord and dealing with your taxes there is keeping track of your depreciation schedules and, being able to easily do that, as well as just your basics of like income, expenses, things like that. And a lot of these softwares will put you up in either premium or like self-employed. And so you are paying well over $100+ to file your tax return. When you have TaxSlayer here that offers extremely similar functionality, because you can't import this stuff. There's no connections to banks or anything that you can do here. Like you literally just had a data entry this, and TaxSlayer is great for that. They have a great user experience. You input all your information and you are paying literally half the price that you would of any other tax software platform if you're a landlord.
Yeah, and even if you get tripped up trying to report all of the different functionalities of you being a landlord, you can actually upgrade to TaxSlayer Premium. Okay, you're going to be paying a little bit extra, but you can ask a tax professional how certain expenses should be categorized. So I think if you were going to start with anything, you can start with TaxSlayer Classic, and as you get in there, then you can always upgrade to Ask a Tax Pro. The runner up to this is Cash App Taxes. So again, because and the reason why is because most of those premium tax software out there are going to charge the most amount of money for landlords to be able to report some of their tax filings inside of their tax software. So Cash App Taxes is, again, completely free. So you're able to upload or import, manually type in all of that stuff. So there's a little bit of a process to that, but you can't beat free.
You can't be free. And again, like I think the challenge is always going to be those depreciation schedules. Keeping track of them over the years is really what it is. And Cash App Taxes does have those imports too. So you can upload your last year's taxes. You can get a starting point for continuing on to this year's taxes, and it's free. You're not, like I said, you're not connecting to anybody. This is all you. You got to input your information, and you could do it for a lot less. And their functionality is just as on par because this one's really just entering almost like a spreadsheet. Like you're in there, you just click it, you're entering your information. Like there's not much you can do around this. And so you might as well save the cost on that one.
Right. And speaking of Cash App Taxes, they are our winner for best tax software for side hustlers. If you had any side hustle income, small income from either selling stuff online, you picked up, small jobs, odds and ends, Cash App Taxes is going to help you report that information very quickly with a very smooth tax filing experience. You can't import information with Cash App Taxes, so that would be a drawback here. But because the usability is so nice, this makes it really easy for side hustlers to report their income.
And when we talk about side hustlers too, we're talking about someone that's doing gig work, selling a few things. Like, you're typically making like $5,000 to $10,000 a year on the side. You might have a few expenses, maybe some mileage. You're not getting so complex here where you're having to do a ton of different things. You don't have any assets in your business, things like that you might need a more robust tax software option for. Like this is just like, hey, I drove for Uber. Here's how like much I made. Here was my maintenance cost. Like here was my mileage. Like boom, call it a day. Like these tax software options are really great for that because otherwise, a lot of companies will push you into self-employed level pricing, right? So like they just see that, hey, like you're self-employed, even though you just did gig work, which you are technically self-employed, but all of the self-employed packages at the big guys are like $100+, right? And so you could be paying a lot of money. And like when you only made like maybe $2,000 to $5,000, like all of a sudden you're paying $100 just to file your taxes is kind of crazy, right? Because you might not have even profited the full amount with mileage and other expenses. So that's why keep it cheap, go with Cash App Taxes. I think it's a great choice. But we also have what else?
We also have a second winner actually. So if you were looking at Tax Slayer Classic was our winner for this category as well. And like Robert was saying, if you had small income coming in from a side hustle, you don't want to be paying over $100 for premium tax software just so that you can report side hustle income. That's why Tax Slayer Classic is a great bargain choice that helps you report that income without being overpriced and also gives you the great functionality and features like a premium tax software would.
Absolutely. And I think to me, the big difference is Tax Slayer comes with like the full robust support and Cash App Taxes doesn't, right? So like you're not going to get any help with your taxes on Cash App Taxes. But if this is your first time filing as a gig worker or, side hustler, and you just don't know where to start and you're like entering your info and you're really confused, well, that's where it's like you're paying, you upgrade on Tax Slayer and you're only paying like $10 more and you can get pro support to help walk you through everything there. And that can be really valuable to get your bearings straight, especially if you're filing and this is like your first time doing it. I'd also say, don't forget about bookkeeping. Like, please, I see this every year. Keep track of your income, but also keep track of your expenses, people. That's what always gets people hung up because let's just say you drove for a rideshare platform and you made $5,000. Well, if you don't keep track of all your expenses, suddenly like it looks like you made $5,000. And that could be taxable. You could be paying $1,500 or more in taxes because of that. But the truth is that you drove, you had your cell phone you were using, you might have had to buy some supplies, you might have had to do different things. And so you didn't actually earn $5,000. You grossed $5,000 and then you maybe netted like $1,500. In that case, your taxes are only going to be like $300. And that's a big difference, right? So make sure you're keeping track of your expenses. And this is where you report them. You report them in your tax software. So for those side hustlers out there that are just getting started or last year was your first year, keep accurate records so that when you file your taxes, you're not overpaying because you only pay taxes on your profit, what you earned after all your expenses. So
yeah, and there's a couple of apps that you can use, Tiller Money to track your expenses, and then if you need to track mileage, you can use an app called Everlance to help you keep track of those things throughout the year.
Yep. Otherwise, you're going back through all your logs on your Uber app or your Postmates or your
So
DoorDash, and you're
tedious.
adding up all your miles. Whereas if you just had Everlance, you just say, "Hey, I'm starting," and it keeps track of it all for you. Now I know it's too late to fix it for last year, but it's only January of this year, so you can solve it going forward to make sure you have accurate records. So let's say if you are a small business, let's say your side hustle has like kicked you up into high gear, which is amazing, which we all hope for. Now you're a small business owner.
Yes. So you probably need a little bit more hand holding when it comes to your small business income and expenses. The winner in this category is tax slayer self employed. Now, if you're a self employed individual like Robert is, like I am, there is just a lot of things that you have to keep track of. And also, you get charged the most amount of money when it comes to DIYing your tax software, which is why TaxSlayer is our winner here. They are a bargain price point. They literally slash the premium guys in half on cost, but you also get those features and functionalities as a self employed individual to be able to report your Schedule Cs. Make sure you know exactly how to upload those quarterly tax payments that hopefully you've been making throughout the past year. And that way everything's reported accurately. I really liked this one for small business owners.
Absolutely. I mean, because you get everything. And here's the thing is if you don't have any questions, you could actually start on the classic tier, right? And like it's all the same. And the real question is do I need professional support or not? And if you feel like you don't need any professional support, you can even pay the lower amount, the classic tier. But if you do need self support, you're going to the self-employed support line, and that does cost you a little more than the regular pro support line, but not much. It's still a great deal, and you're probably paying half of what you would pay at like a TurboTax or an H&R Block.
Yes. However, our runner up is TurboTax Self Employed because their functionality, the user experience is second to none, especially if you have questions about how to file your small business income and expenses. They have a really robust KB knowledge base where you can go in and kind of get your questions answered, or, hire a tax pro through TurboTax to help you with those needs. One thing, though, that I was really sad about this year is that they no longer have the access to QuickBooks.
Oh no. So they don't have that this year. That's a bummer. We need to update that. But I also would say the one thing I did see that they added this year, and I could probably why they canceled the QuickBooks integration, is they launched TurboTax Live for Business. So a lot of
What?
business owners, if you have a business that's an S corporation or a C corporation, you have to file a business tax return, and then you have to file a personal tax return. And typically, you couldn't necessarily do that online, or you'd have to pay a regular CPA or tax professional outside of tax software. And this year, TurboTax Live for Business is now letting you do all that online as well, which is a great added bonus for people that have a more complex small business structure and they don't know where to go for tax assistance.
I love that option. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk about best value for experienced filers. If you're the type of person who's like, I've done this for a long time, I have predictable tax forms, I know what I'm doing, then you probably don't want a tax software that's going to force you through every single tax filing situation, ask you yes, no questions. The winner in this category is Cash App Taxes because you can jump around easily through the sections and then through the subsections. You can just pick and choose what you want, upload those forms, and get it done ASAP.
Absolutely. And it's free. So you
And it's
want that
free.
value, just knock it out. I think that's great because I see that every year too. Like once you've done your taxes maybe 3 or 4 times, it gets very simple and it's very easy to do. And then, especially if you use the same app year after year, it remembers you, right? And so you're already skipping so many steps, right? You don't have to enter your name and your social security number and your address and all that stuff again. And so once you're experienced and you know what you're doing, it's really about finding the lowest cost option to get what you need done. And Cash App Taxes is free. You can't beat that. The only problem is those darn limitations again. So if you do have multiple states or something, that's the only drawback. And hopefully they'll fix that in the future, though.
Yeah. And speaking of free or cheap. The runner up in this category was Free Tax USA. So the federal filing is free. It says free in the name. You got to think it's completely free. It's not. You do have to pay $14.99 per state filing. So if you had multiple states and in this scenario you're an experienced tax filer, then Free Tax USA would be the better option here.
I love Free Tax USA, and it's kind of a bummer they don't show up more on our lists because they are a really great choice. The problem is that they only offer free filing on the federal level, and then their state price is like a little higher than some of the other options, but they do offer support at a really good price too. So if you did want that support option, I want to say it's like $7 or something. It's not very much, right?
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
And so
$7.99 for the tax pro and audit support. That's a really great deal.
it's a really great deal, and even the $14.99 per state isn't a really make it or break it option. It's a low price, and they have pretty good software. I mean, it's very like middle of the road. It's easy to use, but yeah, it's free federal filing, and so don't dismiss Free Tax USA. They also have their sister company, Tax Hawk. They're very great options. But it's just like all these other ones just have like this tiniest little edge on them in some way. And so they don't always make the cut on our list. But like I like Free Tax USA, and they're just like they're like the good old just reliable like tax
They,
software company there, right?
they're the Hondas and the Toyota Camrys of the world. They will get you from point A to point B.
Absolutely. Great choice. Glad to see that they're a runner up there. There is great value there. And they do support multiple states, but you are going to pay $14.99 per state if you do it. So just keep that in mind.
All right, best support from tax pros is our next category. And even if you don't think that you need some hand holding from a tax pro, there could be a situation where you're in the middle of it, it's late at night, you're trying to do all of the tax filing prep, and you have a question. So you definitely want to have that support from a tax expert, which is why the winner in this category is Tax Hawk Pro Support, which is actually not that expensive to get access to. It's just
Yeah.
$24.99.
Right. It's a great deal. So Tax Hawk is the Free Tax USA sister company. And I like to use them. They're like the premium version of Free Tax USA. Even though it's the same basic software, they just offer a little bit more in terms of features. So they offer this pro support. And when I say it's like premium, it's still a great price, $25,
Yeah.
right? Compared to what you get at some of these other companies, right?
Yeah, and what is cool about this, you get unlimited phone, live chat support, screen share support. If I knew I had access to somebody who knows taxes like their back of their hand and I can share my screen with them and it only costs me $25 to do so, TaxHawk is the way to go.
Absolutely. And then our runner up is TaxSlayer Premium. We've talked about them a few times, but you get to that basic classic levels where you can start for $10 more. You can get access to premium, which is Ask a Tax Pro. You can get those questions. You can also get audit defense support and technical support as well, which is a really good value compared to what you're going to see at a lot of other companies for that type of hand holding through your taxes. Otherwise, they can get really expensive pretty quickly.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about what if we just don't even want to do our taxes ourselves and we want somebody to do it for us virtually. So the next category is best virtual tax preparation, where you literally can hand over a virtual shoebox of your tax forms and say, no, I want you, the expert, to do this for me. The winner in this category is TurboTax Full Service.
Yeah. I was gonna say these are both very comparable, but like over the last 3 or 4 years, I wonder why this has become an incredibly popular option. So I just want to preface for both of these. If you want someone to do your taxes virtually, you need to make that decision by like February 15th because they only have a limited number of CPAs and enrolled agents and tax professionals that are doing these. And like the last couple years, the first year they launched it, actually none of them was a success. And then COVID hit and everyone was home and no one was going to their CPA and their tax professional. And all these options just popped up and they're like, I can do these things online. And now over the last few years, these options have been booming. and you got to get yourself in there and book a time if you want these. So I just want to throw that out there. They're very similar. Go for it, Justine.
Yeah, there. I was trying to look up the cost on the full service. I'm not seeing it here on a review, but it is going to be the most expensive option versus DIYing it with TurboTax. But I think if you are going to go ahead and do this, like Robert was saying, timing is of the essence because they are going to need that additional time. This is a physical person who
Yep.
is
So
looking
I was
at
gonna
your
say, yeah.
stuff.
And so TurboTax starts at $169 for your simple tax returns, and then it goes up to $359. I think their state is like $59 each state that you do. They have a sale for $49 right now, so it is significantly more than even the highest price DIY option.
Yes.
However, you're having a tax pro do your taxes, and all you're responsible for is uploading your documents and then answering any questions that they have about your situation. So it can be a very compelling option for you.
Yes, which is why our runner up is H&R Block Virtual. That also what I love about this is they provide you an estimated time of completion when you select your tax professional. So when you upload all those documents, you get paired up with a tax professional. They're going to say, okay, it's going to take X amount of business days in order to complete the tax filing and to have you review this before we submit it for filing, which I think is awesome. I
It,
love that.
It is. And then, they are a skosh cheaper. That's usually what H&R Block does. So I think they start at $89 to do the basic version. And those are just basically if you have a W-2. The other thing that's interesting with H&R Block is they have like variations of this. So we all know H&R Block has offices with tax professionals. They also offer a drop-off one. So if you don't want to go see a CPA, but you just want to do everything online, but you don't have like a scanner or a way to upload your documents, you can actually drop off your documents at an H&R Block office. And then the whole process kind of works in reverse where they'll email you and reach out and do the rest online, but at least you can drop off all your stuff
Wow.
and not go to the office. And of course, they have the traditional office as well, but that kind of defeats the purpose of virtual tax prep.
I love it. All right. Let's talk about those who are seeking a tax refund anticipation loan. I'm not sure.
Ah,
I've not heard of these types of loans before, but they actually do exist.
they do. First off, I'm not your mom, and I'm not going to tell you you should not get a tax refund anticipation loan. But you should not get a tax refund anticipation loan. But if you are so dead set on doing it, there are options out there for you. Please do it through a reputable company. So TurboTax is one of the only ones that are doing it online this year. You can typically go to a Jackson Hewitt and things and do it in person. You get the tax refund anticipation loan. I think Liberty Tax also does this as well. And so you can do it with TurboTax online, but don't do it, guys. You can get your refund in 21 days. There's like no reason to get these tax refund loans because you're paying fees. You're just don't do it. Like you get yourself in trouble. And if you're getting it from an independent practitioner, you need to be very concerned. So one of the number one scams that impact tax filers are tax refund anticipation loan scams, where unscrupulous independent tax preparers might offer you a loan at above market interest rates or charge fees that they're not allowed to charge, or even in a worst case situation, like they're like not telling you the full amount of your tax refund and they're like keeping the rest. So like they'll give you a loan for $1,500, but your tax refund's $3,000 and you didn't realize that they were keeping that $1,500. So don't do it. Like, just
Don't
don't
do
do
it.
it. But it's there. It's an option. Again, I'm not your mom, and you're not going to listen to me if you're already going down this path. So at least do it with a reputable company, but just don't do it.
And because we do extensive tax software reviews, we definitely had to mention the tax refund anticipation loan, which is why we said TurboTax is your only reputable source for that. Also, keep in mind when we're talking about tax refunds, a refund simply means that you overpaid in taxes throughout the year and now you're getting that money back, but you weren't earning any interest on that money. And so when I think about it in that regard, you could have had that refund money that entire year had you just made some adjustments inside of those tax forms. So really, I try to make sure that I owe or that I'm getting the least amount of refund as possible, get that to a $0 as much as I can.
I love it. Well, we got a question here about automatically adding the credits that you qualify for. So this is Flawless Clarity's first year filing his taxes. So what do you talk about when it comes to adding individual credits that the individual qualifies for? Like, how do you apply for these things, right? We always hear tax credits, tax deductions, right?
Yeah. I think for you, what I would probably steer towards is tax software that actually guides you through the whole tax filing, your tax filing situation. So H&R Block actually does a really good job of asking you yes, no questions in terms of figuring out what credits you actually qualify for, if that makes sense. Also, if you're looking for a bargain tax software, I would say Tax Slayer,
Yep. And
especially if
that's
this is your first year filing.
absolutely. And that's it. So, tax credits, tax deductions, it can be very confusing to know what you qualify for. And so, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, you want a tax software that's easy to use so that you get asked all these questions. So when you actually log into a H&R Block online or a Tax Slayer, it's going to ask you like so many basic questions. You're kind of going to get tired of it. It's going to say like, what's your name? Where do you live? Did you live in more than one place this year? Like, how many people are in your household? Are you married? Do you have kids? Like, it goes through like all these questions. And the reason it is it's trying to see what tax credits and tax deductions you qualify for, right? And so if you say you had kids, you're going to get another question that says like, hey, did you pay for childcare this year? And things like that, because childcare is something that you could potentially get a tax deduction for on your taxes if you paid for it, right? And so then you got to go through and you answer all these questions. And then at the end of it, it's going to take care of any tax credits or tax deductions that you qualify for. And so that's why when we say it's super important to find easy to use tax software, you are the prime example of why. Because if you jump into something that's more advanced, you don't know the questions to ask yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like that comes with years of experience and or being a tax professional. But for those that are just getting started and stuff, that's where the H&R Blocks, the turbo taxes, the tax slayers that are very easy to use, they're going to walk you through all those questions and help you get all the credits and tax deductions that you qualify for. Just make sure you're answering it honestly and accurately, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, definitely check out our reviews on TaxSlayer and H&R Block so that you can make the best choice for yourself. But those are the two that I think of in your scenario.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, it's the top of the hour. Justine, thank you so much for joining me to recap all these tax awards. We do this every year. It's a lot of work. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that we started this back in October
Yes.
and going through all of the different tax software companies. We've had first looks at, the H&R Blocks and the Turbo taxes and all of these companies as they go live. We go in there, we actually run a, fake person through it, get a W-2, put some investment income in there and see how it works. Even last year, you caught some errors, or we caught some errors as a team and said that things weren't, working as they're supposed to be. So anyways, I appreciate your hard work. I hope people found this valuable. Do you have any parting wisdom for people talking about taxes?
Definitely, if you're on the fence trying to figure out which tax software is best for you, check out our complete articles and reviews at thecollegeinvestor.com, which we will link below or link in the comments for you to check out. That way, you can make the best decision for your individual tax filing situation. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's no one size fits all approach when it comes to filing your taxes. And so that's why we take it to heart on tax software. You're like, you take tax software to heart? We do, because this is such an important part of our financial lives that you definitely want to get done and done right.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.